What's going on, people? So, this whole Yeezy thing, right? It seems like they are actually dead now. I said that in the last video, I'll say it again, probably in the next video. And you can kind of tell that in some ways based on the lineup, really, because none of these are things that I have spoken highly of really in the past. And none of them are ones that I had even like talked about, oh man, I'd really like to get those highlights or these whatevers, you know? I mean, I did like this pair a fair amount, but it was like, whatever. I missed it, so I just kind of moved on. But given that I'm here talking about these and you don't see a single 350 in this lineup, yeah, I think we're at the tail end of the whole Yeezy lifespan, right? Kind of, hopefully. So either way, down there, you see that? Does that help you out with anything? I don't know, but it's something. So let's go ahead. That's what we're going to be talking about. And so now let's just go ahead and talk about it. This right here is the Adidas Yeezy 500 in the Ash Grey colorway. I feel like it's Ash Grey. Is it Ash Grey? It is. It is Ash Grey. Sometimes. I know what I'm talking about. We're going to start this thing with the bottom. From down there, what are you looking at, right? That's always the question. And what's the answer? Not a lot. Not a lot at all, right? It's pretty standard stuff for like the 500. It's kind of like got some swirly things going on and all that stuff. So it's interesting. It is interesting, right? And I say that as a nicer way of saying kind of ugly, honestly. Because when you look at from the midsole side, right? Yeah, I'm just not a fan of what's going on down here. It's a lot of stuff happening, right? And I get that that's probably in, or at least it was at some point, maybe still, according to like the 90s, 60s and such. But, it's not a look for everybody. And in case you're curious about like how things are looking on the inside, right? Basically all the same stuff is going on out there. It's got these like weird blocky things going on. I don't know what's happening down there, but there you go. There's a picture. Speaking of pictures and whatnot, I have some more pictures for you. I actually have several more pictures for you. But as you look at these, right, you're probably looking at it and thinking, yeah, there's not too much going on here as far as color, so that's kind of bland in some ways, right? Yeah, I get it. And you just have a whole bunch of random materials and layers and patches and various things, right? Yeah, it all kind of speaks for itself, so I'm not going to really describe a whole lot of it to you, honestly. I'll get you some pictures in here so I can show you the rest of it up somewhat up close or whatever, help you put your mind together around it. And starting around like the toe box and all that stuff, you got a lot of suede going on down there, and you're going to see a lot of suede on other parts of the shoe, right? Moving on back and whatnot, you have more of that going on down there, and then again, like it's a visual that is easier to show than to speak on. So I guess I'll just like let the pictures do all that stuff and tell you one other thing as I bring up this other pair that I have. Because originally, like, because I'm not going to get into too deep onto these, right? Because again, there's not a lot to say. But this is the pair that I had originally thought about buying. But then this pair, what is this? This is the, I have no idea what this pair is. See, now we're back to me not really knowing what I'm talking about. But it reminded me of the Earth Day release. So there is that from Asics Gel Light 3s. But I saw this pair and I was like, yeah, I do like gum bottoms. That's kind of a thing that gets my attention a lot. So I ended up buying this one. But then when they brought everything back, I ended up with this one too because the sizing of this was not so great, right? This was a 9.5. This one is a 10. This is the only reason I bought this, honestly. Because I didn't know if all of these run small, if it was just this one, so I wanted to figure that out. Seems like it might have just been like the standard sizing differences. But looking at them up close and all that, right? There's not a whole lot of a difference in size between the two, but it's just enough. But the thing is, to me, like it did look like the toe box was a little bit wider, and that is kind of helpful because that's where, I noticed that it wasn't so great. And maybe you saw that video or the live where I originally talked about whatever colorway this is. Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying down in there, right? But things are working out better now, right? I mean, I'll get more into that in the sizing and stuff, but as far as this here one goes, yeah, it's a pretty decent look. I'll give it that, right? Even though it is super plain, they do have some really nice materials to make up for it, which also adds to the comfort when you're wearing it, right? But again, we'll get all into that stuff in a little bit here. One other thing that I will slip in here right now, they do have some 3M sprinkled on here. Not a whole lot, but it is there, and that also gives them a little bit of an advantage over some other things in my eyes, but it's not a whole lot anyways, and they're still like not all that great. It just makes them a little bit better. So, personal thoughts. Let's go ahead and get into that, right? These right here, I tell you, man, I had some doubts when I looked at them initially because they looked kind of plain and kind of ugly just as far as the model goes. And now looking at them in hand, yeah, they're still kind of plain and kind of ugly, right? But they're here now, so I guess Yeezy won, didn't he? But seriously though, comfort-wise, like, you do get some nice comfort out of like the nice materials that they have up in here, so I do like that piece of it, right? Otherwise, there's really not a whole lot to say. It's not a bad color, right? I mean, the color is still fine to me. It's just, I guess I'm just overall not so big on things that are mostly like a single color. And even though you have like, what, 3 in here, they're all just various close shades of gray, right? So there's that. But I knew what I was getting into, and if you saw these online and you were thinking about getting a pair for yourself, what you see in the websites and such, that's exactly what you're going to get, which is not always the case with Yeezys. So I do like that, right? Because I've bought other things where I expected them to be one way and then they weren't, and sometimes that can be good, sometimes that's bad, whatever. But this time around, I got exactly what I was expecting to. So there is that piece of it. And they are pretty wearable, so you know, I can't complain about them. Again, I think it's just like the 500 just didn't get a whole lot of colors that were really different than just plain, honestly. I think I saw one that's similar to these in flame pairs or whatever, but everything else was pretty much just like one solid thing. It's kind of an odd situation in my eyes, but whatever. So let's move on from all that, all the personal opinions and whatnot, and we'll talk about the sizing because that's what's next, right? So, sizing wise, I bought these in a 10, got it right that time. And the reason I did that is because the first pair I bought in a 9.5 didn't quite work out so great, right? The toe box seemed like it was just a little small and there wasn't much room in there. I was able to work with it, right? But the thing is, if that same dimensions had been on like another shoe, like say like an Yeezy 350 or an Ultra Boost or whatever, wouldn't have worried about it, because the thing is, when you're wearing those, they're prime knit, they stretch out over time, it's cool, right? No problem. But when you're wearing something like these, you do kind of have to worry about that, because it is a problem, because this is not the type of material that's going to stretch out like that. Will it break in a bit over time? Everything does, sure, yeah. But how much? That's the question, right? So I kind of feel like it's better to go on the side of caution and just get that extra half size up. And even then, there's still not a whole lot of room down there, right? It's enough for me, right? But some people might end up needing to go a whole size up, and that's just kind of ridiculous to me, right? But overall, dimensions-wise, they kind of feel on par with a lot of the other Yeezy things I've dealt with. So there is that piece of it. So if whatever size you would generally like jump on or whatever, for say like a 700 or something, you know, you might be good just going with that same mindset. But again, I don't know if it was just that one or whatever. But past that, I'm saying the 9.5, how it was just felt really small. But either way, as far as like walking around in them though, these feel pretty nice. Like the upper, that has some nice materials on there, so I do really like that. Down on the lower piece, right, it's pretty decent, got the Ortholite insoles and everything, but it just feels weird walking in them kind of, because it's not a flat bottom. And that is a thing that I'm starting to realize I'm a huge fan of, is like flat bottom shoes or whatever. Because this, it just feels weird at first, just walking around in it. And I just like, I'd rather do something else, right? But I can't complain overall, because once I put a day's worth of wearing into the last one, I was good with them. And I would definitely suggest them, right? Especially if the price point is right. So if you're considering getting a pair, I'll leave you with this. Go ahead, try it out. Probably fine, you know, you'll probably like it. But it's just weird though. It's just such an odd look to me. But whatever, it's just my opinion. Yours may vary or whatever, but we can compare and contrast thoughts down in the comments if you want to. From me to you, have a nice rest of your day or rest of your night, whatever's wherever you are. I have one more of these reviews to knock out. I use the quotes because it's not much of a review now, is it? So I'm going to move on, do that, and then that will be the end of my day, right? So I can move these things on over here, shift that over there or something. There, now we're mostly ready. Later, people.